Coming up, I'm going behind the scenes to talk to two men tasked with turning around Thai Airways.
Hello.
Nice to meet you, Chairman.
The last time I interviewed Piyasvasti Amranand was back in 2012 when he was CEO of Thai Airways and trying to turn around the airline. But before that interview even aired, internal politics had already forced him out. Now he's back, leading the airline's rehab as chairman, tasked with turning around Thai Airways once again.
Looking back, how does it feel to come full circle? Like you finally got to finish what you started?
When I was CEO for 2 years and 8 months, I was not able to finish many things which should have been done. In a way, I'm glad that I had come back to reform the company again. And this time, I think I had probably been able to do what I had intended and was not able to do at that time.
You were working with the government, driving energy reform here in Thailand. How did you get pulled in to Thai Airways rehabilitation? What made you say yes?
25th of May 2020, I got a call from General Prayut, the Prime Minister, and he said, P, will you help me? P is Big Brother. So I asked him, help with what? And he said, Thai Airways. And I said, well, who else will be in the team? And he said, well, you suggest, would you like? So I put forward some names.
You couldn't say no?
He has a way of asking you so that it's difficult for you to say no. And in a way, I really wanted to save Thai Airways because despite the financial problem, despite COVID-19, I know that there are very good people in the company and it's a good airline. There's no reason why we should not be able to turn around the company.
You have a soft spot for the airline.
A soft spot for Thai Airways.
For Piyasvasti Amranand, it was more than sentiment, it was a mission. Thai Airways has always been more than just an airline. For decades, it stood as a symbol of Thai pride, known for its world-class smooth-as-silk service and deep cultural roots. But by the late 2000s, the legacy was under threat. Years of rising debt, high costs, outdated planes, and politically driven decisions had left the airline in trouble. Then COVID hit, flights were grounded, revenues collapsed. In 2020, Thai Airways filed for bankruptcy protection. For many, it looked like the end of the runway. With the airline in crisis, Piyasvasti was brought back, this time as the court-appointed chairman of the rehabilitation plan. Since taking the helm, Thai Airways has returned to profitability and is working to reclaim its position as a leading carrier.
Thai Airways now profitable, re-emerging after 5 years of rehabilitation. Just how painful was the process?
The process was probably quite painful, complicated. Starting off with the initial phase of drawing up the plan, there were disagreements among the planners, among various government agencies, for example, and that really took up a lot of time unnecessarily. For example, one planner didn't agree with staff reduction, but we could not survive without staff reduction. Otherwise, the company would have gone bankrupt.
So behind the scenes, you had nearly halved your workforce. Your fleet size has been reduced by 20%.
20%.
How did you handle the amount of opposition and resistance that came with a massive restructuring and cost cutting?
So the employees, most of them anyway, were very cooperative. Well, there are a few exceptions. About 1,000 of them did not leave voluntarily, so we had to pay them off in line with the labor law. And many of them had actually taken us to court. But in all cases, we had won the case of unfair dismissal. But there was also opposition from certain government agencies, which made the process a lot more complicated. For example, certain government agencies wanted Thai Airways to go bankrupt altogether and set up a new national airline. Also, the Prime Minister agreed for cash injection of 50,000 million baht, and that was incorporated in the first rehabilitation plan. Then many government agencies were against that and dragged their feet, and in the end, we were not able to get any cash injection from the government.
So how long did it take to finally come up with a rehabilitation plan that everyone could agree on?
It was about 1 year, because we simply had to do it within 1 year. Otherwise, the company would go totally bankrupt. But it was a painful process negotiating with the creditors and so on, with 50,000 million baht cash injection. So we realized that since the money was not coming, we had to help ourselves. Looking back, I'm glad that the money didn't come, because if the money had come, it would have been a lot more difficult to really reform the company. So we really had to cut down the cost substantially, and quickly we had to reform the marketing of Thai Airways and so on.
It was all about cleaning up the house.
Cleaning up the house, which would have been impossible if the money had come early.
Back in 2020, the government reduced its stake in the airline to below 51%, officially ending its position as a state-owned enterprise. The move gave the carrier greater autonomy to implement tough reforms without political interference. But the shift hasn't been without friction. In late 2024, a proposal to appoint 2 government officials to the rehab panel triggered protests from the workers' union, concerned that political influence might be making a comeback. Today, the government still remains the largest shareholder of the national carrier.
This time, are you hopeful that the airline will not go back to the old way of doing things?
Interference stopped because of the fact that under rehabilitation, the authority of the shareholders and the board were transferred to the plan administrator. So we were able to select the best people within the company to run the various departments, and that, I think, is probably one of the most important things. Now we have a very strong management. I would say probably the best we had ever had.
But do you still worry about political interference?
I still have worry about that, because once we exit the rehabilitation plan, the authorities of the plan administrators will return to shareholders and the board. And the board had been appointed, but they haven't started working yet because they still wait for the court ruling to exit the plan. Now, once that happens, then you could see certain interference like in the past. But I think the important thing is this: the management has to be strong. The management has to have unity and only do what is right for the company.
Thai Airways has been overhauling its fleet strategy, phasing out older planes to improve efficiency and cut costs. By the end of 2025, the airline will operate around 79 aircraft, with an average age of about 10 years, and the number of planes is set to grow to 150 in 2033.
So the CEO is now here. I'll
Okay.
introduce him to you. Christine, this is Chai Eamsiri.
Hi,
Nice
Christine.
to meet you,
Nice to meet you
Chai.
too.
Now, as Thai Airways celebrates its 65th anniversary, it's also gearing up to relist on the Stock Exchange of Thailand.
Nice to meet you at a time when the airline is preparing to exit rehabilitation.
Yes.
Are you both confident the worst is over for the airline?
Yes, I'm confident that the worst is over. We are financially strong, much stronger than before COVID.
Yes, of course, we already proved ourselves, at least for the 9 consecutive quarter profitable, very strong financial statement, and also we have a confidence from our creators, our customer, and our employee. We think we are better than even before the pandemics.
So if all things go according to plan, the idea is to relist on the Stock Exchange of Thailand in the third quarter of this year. It's a major milestone. What are your expectations? We're talking about a small float and it's a lockdown period.
Yes, actually, according to the regulation of the SET, we have to lock up the share from the strategic shareholders, comprising about 55%. But at the end, Thai Airways will trade in the stock market. But we have to creating a more confidence from the investor, which are not our shareholder now.
The turnaround story of Thai Airways, do you think it will be enough to attract the institutional investor?
I think so. I think we just have to keep the performance up. That's the important thing. But initially, after listing, it wouldn't be all that exciting because of the lockup period for a number of shareholders. And at the moment, we still have only a few institutional investors as our shareholders. We need more institutional investors to invest in the company. And I think it may not be feasible until there is more free float after 6 months and 1 year.
Is there a stock market price that you're looking at?
We don't have a target stock market price, but the latest capital raising, we're selling share price at 4.48 baht per share. But to give the confidence for the investor, if it's higher than 4.48, that means the market perception is good for Thai Airways.
You think that can happen?
It could happen, but there's one external problem, which is that when we did the public offering at the end of last year, Thai stock market was in a much better shape than now. So what the price will be will also depend on the state of the Thai stock market.
As Thai Airways celebrates its 65th anniversary, the airline is unveiling a fresh new look, from redesigned uniforms and upgraded amenity kits to brand new business class seats. That includes these fully flat seats set to debut on the carrier's A321neo aircraft for long-haul routes. And on board this A320,
This aircraft, we have a 12 business class seat, but you can notice that this class, we don't have a monitor at the back, but we are offering the passenger with the wireless in-flight entertainment.
Kun Chai, you've been with the airline for 40 years. Can you tell us more about the improved cost structure within the airline? Where are you spending more on now and where are you cutting back?
One is about the aircraft cost. Before we enter into the rehabilitation plan, aircraft cost per aircraft is very high. Now we already renegotiating with the lessor and also to the financial institute. We be able to cut down the cost at least around 50% of the aircraft cost was going down. Secondly is about the people cost. Before we restructuring the total FTE means permanent staff, the outsource, the out job, everything together is about 32,000 per employee. We have been able to cut down by half. The third one is the financial costs, because since we are in the rehabilitation plan, we be able to freeze the financial costs for a while, and then we can repay back in about 12 years, average 12 years extension of the debt.
I understand you plan to double your fleet in the next 10 years or
Yeah.
so. What will your route expansion look like?
We will put more concentrating on the existing market, and also we want to go back to the market that we used to operate to. Second, we will put more frequency. As I explained, we will be the network airline. Network airline need frequency to be able to for the passenger to choose the scheduling to connecting into Bangkok. Thirdly, expand to more destination, especially in the Asia Pacific. For Europe, I think we are quite strong already.
As CEO, your job is also to rebuild the trust, not just among investors, but also your passengers, your employees as well. What leadership style will you use to engage both internal and external stakeholders?
How can I say? I can be the bipolar disorder maybe.
Bipolar.
Because it's different. It's depending on the situation. Since we enter into the rehabilitation plan, and especially during the pandemics, at that time you need a very strong leadership, more or less gray area between strong leadership and dictatorship, because you don't have time to debate. Otherwise, the company will collapse. At that time, I maybe consider now I think more diplomatic, I can say. Diplomatic leadership, because you have to, you mentioning about the investor, the customer, the employee. You have to balancing among these three
It's a
major
balancing act, yeah.
these three major group of people.
And finally, as CEO, getting that global ranking for best airline is everything. What is your ambition for Thai Airways?
In terms of ranking, there's so many institutions to ranking the airline, and they are also using different methodologies. Some using the internal inspector, some using the customer survey, the real customer surveys. We use real customer surveys, but we are not ignoring the airline ranking. We also have our target.
What's your target?
My target is we already announced that top 10 after we get the new aircraft in, because with the old aircraft you cannot be the top 10. That has to be after 27, and 28 should be, we can see the impact on the ranking from the different institutions.
Top 10 or top 5?
Top 5 I think is too ambitious. Top 10 would be reasonable.
Khun Chai, thank you so much for talking.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Managing Asia. For more leadership insights, check out managingasia.cnbc.com. I'm Christine Tan. Thanks for watching.